I'm going to talk about today is one of the key changes that's happening in the industry right now, which is movement towards a much more collaborative, a much more rich web interface, whether it's intranet, whether it's an extranet, or whether we're talking about direct to consumers. So one of the key things whenever I start talking about this area is the whole Web 2.0 concept that kicks in. So most customers definitely do ask me a lot of times, what is this Web 2.0? And the way at least we look at it is there are three key pieces, three key components that form a Web 2.0 world. The first and the most critical part is the service-oriented concept on the presentation layer. So it's really going away from the fact where we used to say, hey, I'm building a web application. That is really getting something a lot more procedural in manner, which is not really something that's the way things or applications are designed today. The way applications are getting designed is really in our services-oriented architecture, whether we talk on the back end or front end. An example of this is really if you look at Google Maps, that's a service on the internet itself, which can be consumed by anybody else that wants to use it. So that's one of the key aspects of Web 2.0. The other very important thing about Web 2.0 is just the experience that a user gets on the browser itself, which is things like lazy loading, for which the page doesn't refresh, and a lot of AJAX that is getting used. And with the whole AJAX concept also that's coming up is components that have been built by in the open source world or by organizations that can be used to build those front ends, whether we're talking about accordions, whether we're talking about sortable lists, etc. And that really helps make really rich user interfaces, which are getting closer and closer to the client-server, client kind of environment, rather than a very static and not so interactive browser experience that we were getting just 4 or 5 years back. The third key aspect, which is really going to be the focus for us today, is the whole collaboration part. And the whole collaboration piece is again becoming very, very important and becoming very prevalent in our society as so, just not from an enterprise perspective. For example, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all these products that have come in have become such an integral part of the society itself that they are kind of considered as a norm, and that's considered something that really helps people collaborate with each other. What that has really led to is an interesting phenomenon on the enterprise side. Obviously, this started from the consumer side, and what we are moving towards an enterprise side is a lot of CEOs, a lot of people at higher levels and organizations are looking at it and saying, wow, we could use it internally for our world and be able to really utilize these concepts to do something that's very critical in an organization. Building community, making sure that information is being shared across the organization, that automatically leads to innovation. And innovation is the most important thing. In one of the big examples that at least I've heard when I've been talking to customers has been that a lot of people in organizations have built these communities on pure internet, in the sense they have Facebook communities for organizations as such. If you go on Facebook, you'll find a lot of companies that have those communities already in place, and people and employees are sharing information. This is extremely risky for organizations, and they understand that. As far as from a society perspective, from a social aspect, what's happening is these are norms that people really follow to share information and to communicate with each other. Twitter, doing tweets, doing Facebooks, getting on LinkedIn is the normal way to do it. And sometimes these are actually much more easy. It's much more easier to share and experiences and information on these public internet websites rather than doing it internally, because organizations really don't have a platform to be able to encourage that kind of collaboration. Email typically is the most important collaboration tool, which is very static and not something that is really very active. So the whole concept of this collaboration, as it is becoming more and more important in enterprises, one of the key things that at least some of the more innovative software companies are doing is coming up with collaboration platforms that are more suitable to an enterprise as such, rather than something that's more suitable to public domain. And when I say suitable to an enterprise, what I mean is the security around it. What I mean is that you're containing the number of people who are going to be accessing it, and also making it easier for the enterprise internally to be able to hook onto those systems, so that you're not requiring a new user ID password, creating new profiles. They're able to go internally, the information they already have about their employees, utilize it in these products, and make it as a starting point where then people can go and start adding more and more information. And one of the key changes that is happening by this paradigm really is the fundamental way that information was being shared and the way that information is now getting propagated. If we look at it traditionally, one of the most important products that was used across the board to share information was content management system, which basically meant a small group of authors really went and created the content, and then it was pushed out to everybody. So the limit on the amount of information that could be really created and pushed was limited to the number of hours those people could work. The whole collaboration suite, the whole collaboration platform, the enterprise collaboration platform, what it allows organizations to really do is make everybody a part of contributing that content, contributing that knowledge, sharing that learning. And not just that, but also finding other people who have that knowledge and information so that they can interact, and rather than doing the research again and again, get that information and kind of consume that information. So this goes a lot more further than the traditional aspect. This is really what the basic power of this whole platform is, and that's the way it impacts innovation, because now you're not restricted to having that information localized to people, but that gets expanded, and when other people look at it or other people have access to it, they enhance it and they're able to add to it. That's why things like wikis, which is basically enterprise, internal to enterprise, obviously we're not talking about Wikipedia here, but a wiki internally will allow people to start information, let's say just on Web 2.0, and people start adding to it and adding their experiences or their thoughts or their ideas about the whole platform itself in the Web 2.0 context is what I was talking about here. So the platforms that we typically see, there are key components that come with it. Typically, most of the good components will allow you to do knowledge sharing by having something like a wiki where multiple people can come and add information in a single place. They will have things like blog, which is more on a personal aspect where people can give information that they have and push it out, or basically blog about whatever they want to. They will have places for discussion forums that allows as an organization to be able to start a discussion, and that anybody else who has the same problem be able to come and look at the thread and understand what is happening. It allows us to search other people, for us to manage our own profiles so that I can push out information about my expertise, the things that I do, and people can reach out to me. Allows you to catalog information that you find on the internet in a single place, so that that is relevant to the organization and relevant to the business that you are in, so that people are not going on the internet and searching that information again, but it's really available right there. And obviously, as this information is being gathered across these components that we are talking about, it also allows the products typically allow you to rate them, so that as an organization, because now it's unstructured and everybody is able to contribute, you need a way of kind of filtering through it, saying what is good, what is not so good. And again, you want a self-managed system, so you allow people to really come in and say, this is really important for everybody across the board, and that really goes up from a search perspective or from a perspective of how it's looked at. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please feel free to contact us for any additional information or for us to help you adopt the Web 2.0 collaboration platform for your organization.